Hello and welcome to The Lucky Roll, an eclectic channel for eclectic games. And today we're going to unbox Warhammer Quest Blackstone Fortress and its expansion Traitor Command. Now the reason we're unboxing this particular combination of expansion and core set is because it just happens to be what I got for Christmas. Now it's a game I'm very much looking forward to because in recent years Games Workshop have brought back Warhammer Quest in a big way. The first one, of course, was the Silver Tower, which was set in the Age of Sigmar universe. For those of you who don't know, kind of a medieval fantasy magic type of universe. The second one after that was Shadows of Hammerhal, also set in that same universe. This one, however, is set in the Warhammer 40k universe. Now, for those of you who don't know, it's in the far future, complete dystopian nightmare. The human race is beset on all sides by multitudes of alien hordes and is barely just hanging on. It's not a nice place to live, but what is unique about the 40k universe is the lore and the stories and the books. There is a multitude of books on what's called the Black Library, where they just tell the whole story of 40k, and it's something that's been brilliant to read, to get involved in. It's not just a hobby, I think, to an awful lot of people. It's a passion. I mean, if once you take your first steps into the Warhammer universe, 40k universe, you're sunk. It's immersive. What makes this game, however, relevant to that 40k universe is the actual thing itself, Blackstone Fortress. A Blackstone Fortress is a space station, but it's an ancient space station. I mean, this is a space station full of technology that was around before any of these particular races evolved. It goes back to the very beginning of the 40k universe. So by exploring this space station with these characters, you're actually opening up and elaborating on the start of the whole 40k universe. So to me, as someone who likes the stories and the lore, it's a game I'm very much looking forward to playing and trying and discovering. The expansion pack, there's a few of them, but this one really gripped me because it has a Ogryn and a Traitor Commissar. So an Ogryn is kind of like a big ogre, basically. And a Traitor Commissar is, well, it would be a kind of a fanatic for it's hard to call them good guys, but fanatic for the Imperium, which would be, say, the human faction. But for a fanatic to turn to the dark side would mean that this is a very interesting kind of character set or story, so I'm looking forward to that one as well. So what we'll do is we'll open the big box first. So it's a game for 1 to 4 or 5 players, I believe, and it comes with a multitude of goodies. Now, it is, of course, Games Workshop, so the models will be, of course, in superb condition and superb standard. So that's the lid. Now, fortunately, because it allows you to start the game straight away, you can tell the difference between the heroes and the bad guys. So the heroes, of course, all come in red. Now I'll just give you a quick look at some of the sculpts here. Now, as you can see, it's GW's usual incredible standard. Everything is down to a kind of a man-out detail, and it seems to be push-fit. So we have things like an Eldar, we have things like a robot. I'm not sure about this character, but much like the Mass Effect universe, the robots were kind of became sentient, became hostile towards humanity, so AI has been outlawed. So if there's a sentient AI in this game, it should be interesting. This, of course, is one of the bad guys. So what I'll do is I'll show you the bad guy up close because grey tends to come up on this a little bit better. So he looks very similar to Abaddon, which would be one of the big bad guys in the 40k universe with his top knot. But yeah, anyway, I won't spend too much time on the models, but they are superb. So you have at least 2 full sprues full of bad guys, along with a unique one for the main bad guy. And you have I suppose, a sprue and a half, or maybe 2/3 of a sprue of heroes. So putting those aside, we have here this nice little insert, which of course is always beaten up, but it's not there to look pretty, it's there to protect the actual box. Now, it's a pity that's a bit torn, because sometimes if they come out in very good condition you can frame them and whatnot, but to be honest, its job was really to protect all these bits. So as you can see, there is a lot here. We have what looks like to be encounter cards, we have exploration cards, we have stronghold artifact cards, and there's a lot of those. We have chaos beastmen, so I presume these are something akin to counter cards. We have initiative cards. Now this is an interesting game because it's not done your turn next, your turn next, your turn next, your turn next. The cards are drawn, so it can be very random as to whose turn is next on the piece. We have here what looks like to be character cards. We have here oodles of dice, loads of them. Now what is also unique for this game is Games Workshop is famous for their six-sided die. They just seem to like six-sided die. But in this one we have here a D20. We have something with weird symbols on it, and we have your standard D6. So I've heard that there's kind of a touch of D&D roleplay type of thing to this. You have here the rulebook, and there's also an assembly guide in the back. I'll open that in a minute. We have here a hidden vault envelope. Now that is interesting because I'm a sucker for these type of things in games. You know, I love kind of playing through it and being rewarded with a secret. Now, another little interesting thing about Blackstone Fortress, this particular one, is that it's outlined here in the story. But there was only, I think, 6 in the universe, and I won't say what happened to most of them. But this is a brand new one. This has never been in the actual 40k universe before, and they don't know where it came from. So this is going to be a very interesting one. And if it also was released with a book by, obviously, Darius Hinks, and this is a sample chapter from it. But if you really enjoy the game and you want to kind of maybe even elaborate on your experience a bit more, you can buy this book, and they kindly give you a thing to do it. We have here your usual bases. We have here 2 more unique bases. I'm just going to, of course, this is going to be the most impossible thing to lift out of the box. There we go. We have here what look to be player sheets and sleeves. Now that's interesting. Of course, that means you can kind of maintain your character through the playthrough. And we have another one here, Warhammer Quest Blackstone Fortress. Now I like the fact that it's unique to the game, which means that you won't be scavenging sleeves off it for other games. And we have here the push-out boards. So it's all kind of hexagonal, and these things all make up into a different combination. So the dungeons, as you come across in these encounter cards, would be random. So you basically, whatever encounter comes up, you create this map using these tiles, and 1, 2, 3, as you can see here on the card, or 1, 2, and 3, is basically, as the initiative deck is drawn out, that's where the characters are placed and pieced. So the experience is different every time. It's not like the same map over and over again. So if you do a second playthrough with other friends, you can at least enjoy it. And here on the back, we have the ships. Now these are different ships from different characters. I wouldn't know all of them, but I can recognize an Imperial ship. I recognize an Eldar ship. I'm sure there's a Tau ship in here as well, because there's a Kroot that's been playing, so maybe Tau players, which I'm not one now, but we'll be able to tell you which one of these is a Tau ship. And the expansion, as far as I know, brings on other ships. And finally, we have lots of extra baggies, which, you know what, is always a good thing. Now, as for the box itself, it's quite nice, actually. This is one of the things I like about Games Workshop products, is they always go that little extra mile, you know, that there's always just little extras put into these games. So I'm going to put the sealed envelope here, because I don't want to lose that, and we'll open this little instruction book and see what is in here. Now, it's going to take me a while to build up and paint all these, because I'm a bit silly that way. I can only really play with painted models, but to me that's a big part of fun of the hobby. So we have the rules, which are not overly elaborate. There's only 16 pages worth of rules here. So it's not going to be an overly complicated game. So setup, places, locations, exploration rounds, the quest, special rules. So it's not something that you're going to be studying hours upon hours upon hours to play. It's not like Twilight Imperium 4th edition. Okay, we have a Blackstone Fortress combat. Read this when a combat occurs. Okay, so obviously there's different sections, so it's not all just 15 pages of rules, but you know, at least if you have someone who's in charge of the combat and someone else is in charge of the generic rules, you can get the ball rolling. And we have data sheets for use of games of Warhammer 40k. Now this also is very interesting. I happen to be a 40k player. I generally play Chaos Demons, but I do have a hankering to play some Space Marines now that they've become so powerful. And having these characters, you can add them to your actual armies. Now, these guys are interesting. There's a couple of Rattling Twins. In 40k going back, they used to have dwarves, or not dwarves, I think they were called squats. You have little rat men, you have big ogrins, you kind of different things that all seem to kind of gradually disappear. So to actually see Rattlings back in the game in a modern model is interesting. So here you have a Kroot if you wanted to add him to a Tau army. You have an Eldar here if you wanted to add her to a Eldar army. And of course, for myself, with my Chaos Demons, and if I ever decide to field my Ward Bearers with them, I can add in different kind of characters or cultists to it. So Chaos Beastsmen and Traitor Guardsmen now is a nice thing that'll be to put into it. So it's several uses. Not everyone will be a 40k player, but at least on this behalf, you know, you're getting more than just a main game. So Precipice, yes, read this when you return to Precipice. So obviously you'll explore in the fortress, you'll do your combat, get your adventure, and then you come back to a kind of a hub called Precipice, where you can trade and exchange information and kind of carry on with the adventure that way. Now I won't go through too much of that because that's obviously stories that are unlocked, and we even have a Blackstone Fortress background. So everything that I was just surmising for you there, it actually gives you a nice little taster of it. And you know what? That's great to see. I'll be doing a review, post-game review of Gloomhaven later in the year, because myself and my friends are nearly finished the main quest. But one thing I did find it slightly lacking on was the lore, just a tad. This, however, is the complete opposite. This is very lore heavy. So to see stuff like this, I love it. I'm delighted. It was the same thing with the Warhammer Quest Shadow over Harmahal, because it too had a big, I think 20-page story to kind of introduce you to it. So to see all these things, to kind of bring back the story, the life, the lore of the game is fantastic to see. Now we have here, of course, the assembly pieces. Now I won't go too much into it, but you can see here now how much is actually in this. You have here all the heroes, and you have here all the bad guys. Now there's a great variety to them, and what's interesting is that you can always add to the bad guys and possibly even new heroes as Games Workshop release more and more expansions for this. So of course they're all fairly easily to assemble. I think most of them seem to be push fit, and you have here a paint scheme now only for the main characters, I notice. But which is not so bad, I suppose, because you can kind of you can paint these guys up however you want. But I don't know. I tend to like the color scheme here because they would all belong to this character, so they would kind of share his colors, I would imagine. But like I said, one of the beauties of the Warhammer 40k game or hobby is, you know, it's up to you what you want to do. You can paint them any which way or color you want. So these are the Stronghold Artifact cards. So I'm just going to open these and have a quick look. Now they're good quality cards, and we have things like a Medipack, Stun, Stimulant, Service Goal, Incantation, Doom, and Boost. So there's a touch of Chaotic Magic, Improved Stimulants, Incantation, Death, Bionic Eye, Cortex Enhancement, Bionic Muscle Fibers. So you can kind of level up your characters as you go along. We have here the combat cards, so I'm just going to open this a little bit. Combat, of course, is one of the main things about the 40k universe. It's It's a game, well, certainly the Warhammer game is based predominantly on combat, and the Silver Tower and Shadows of Hammerhell had great combat mechanics to it. I remember the last time I played Silver Tower, we spent 40 minutes fighting in the first 2 rooms, and then had little to no encounters for the other rooms after that, but the combat was so intense, it was just funny. So these are all the different combat scenarios. Now, as you can see, you have a huge combination of dungeons here, depending on what the combat comes. They're all numbered, so you can have various enemies. You can be put in different positions. So, you know, there's a lot of playing in this game. So there's even challenges here that I didn't notice. So you have challenge cards and you have actual combat cards. So there's a lot in it. We have here what look to be encounter cards. So I would imagine you would draw the combat card, or you would draw the encounter card first, and you see what you're fighting and where and in what way. So just opening this up. Now they're okay quality. I mean, they're okay quality. They seem a bit more cardboardy than kind of plastic. Actually, just thinking about it, just feeling it, but anyway, that's just me nitpicking. So these are all encounter Traitor Guardsmen, Megavolt Cultists. But what's interesting is that even if you just pull a Traitor Guardsman card, you can see there's different combinations, and there's different locations as to what the actual Traitor Guardsmen are. Like, I mean, here now there's number 4, Endless Hordes. Reroll enforcement rolls if hostile enforcements fail to arrive. Now, I don't know the rules of that, but at least there's a lot of different things. You're not just kind of, if you pull Traitor Guardsman, you don't know what Traitor Guardsman card you pull. You've got Rogue Psychers, you have Megavolt Cultists, I don't know what they are, or Gulls, Spindle Drones, Chaos Beastmen, which now I'm looking forward to painting and playing with those, Rogue Psychers, like I said, Chaos Space Marines, because there's always Chaos Space Marines, and Obsidious Malix, so I think he's the named character. We have it says new threat on one side, but there's no name on the other, so we'll have a quick gander as to what's here. So, opening it without wrecking it. Cool actual background to the card, so I think these are a bit different. Oh no, these are double-sided death cards, so I'm guessing if a character dies, you use this. Okay, that's interesting. There's something I don't know about that. We have stronghold cards here, so okay, I won't look at them too much, but I think, yes, you have to beat 4 strongholds before you win the game or the quest or something like that. But we have discovery cards, and they tend to be the bulk of these. So the discovery cards are Archaeotech, Clue. So obviously you get, depending on the discovery you make, you get different things. And we have here the legacy cards. So again, these seems to be a countdown. Okay, like I said, I don't know the dungeons or the context, but we have here characters, heightened threat levels, spindle drones, things like that. I presume that as the game plays on, it gets more and more difficult, so you add cards to the legacy deck, or you remove cards from the legacy deck, however way they work it. And we have here little initiative cards. So you have Janice Drake, Rogue Trader. So you have Thaddeus, the Purifier, Ministorium Priest. So yeah, I bet you better say your prayers if he's around. You have Esprin Lucano, Imperial Navigator. Now this is an interesting character because they're normally the fellas that fly the ships, so you very rarely play them. So if you're kind of a big lore junkie for 40k, it might be interesting to play that character. You have Pious Vorn, Missionary Zealot. So the initiative cards are all double-sided, so you don't know who or what's going next. You have Rain and Rias, the Rattling Twins. You have 025, Imperial Robot. Now I'm going to be very interested about this guy's background story. You have Dayak Grek, Kroot Tracker. So it's interesting that there's Kroot in here. And of course we have Annalyn Shadow Guide, Suri Ranger, so she's obviously Eldar. And we have Initiative Hostile Group 1, Hostile Group 2, Hostile Group 3, and Hostile Group 4. So I presume that these are put into a different track. You put out the initiative cards and you see who or what is going next. Now the last thing, of course, to open is the initiative card decks. So, or not initiative card decks, excuse me, the character cards. So I'm just opening this carefully because I don't want to be putting a knife through my new lovely board game. And opening this for the very first time, we have Janice Drake, Rogue Trader. So the way this game works is you roll dice, and you roll 4 dice and you place them here on your character. Now, depending on what you roll, you can do different abilities. So, for example, with Janice Drake, if you only roll a 1 on your dice, you can only use a pistol and rapier as an attack. However, if you roll a 4 or a 6, you can increase your flurry of attack. So, obviously, the better rolls you have, the better. Every character has their special rules, and obviously, these are kind of unique symbols. So I think depending on what dice you roll, they have different effects. So you have 2 sides to them. You have the standard side and you have the inspired side. So obviously, as you can see here, the dice symbols are different for the inspired than they are to the standard side. So obviously, if you get the pentagon style dice, you get better rolls. You have Thaddeus the Purifier, who on a 3 or 5+. You have all the same characters again, so just putting those guys aside. We have here the Traitor Guardsmen, who have a behavior table. So this is interesting as well, because this game you can solo play. Silver Tower was a game that you could solo play. Or at least I managed to solo play it. I can't remember if you were told you could specifically solo play it or not, because there was a behavior table. This game you can solo play. So depending on the combination you roll with the dice and say what they're doing, their behavior will change accordingly. So I love these types of games because it allows me to play and familiarize myself with the game. So when I do bring it to a group or introduce my friends to it, they're not waiting on me to explain the rules all the time. So there's a lot of bad guys in this, and the Rogue Psyker now, I have to say, looks brilliant. Chaos Beastman, Chaos Space Marine, and the Chaos Lord. So that is everything in the core set. All I need to do now is open the actual cardboard parts, and then I'll move on to the first expansion. Now, the first expansion, of course, is buried under a whole heap of things. So, of course, there's a lot of goodies in this. So I'll just open this. Now, as you can see, it's good, solid, thick cardboard. And I'm just going to open it quite carefully. Slide it out. As you can see here, in terms of the cardboard, we have several big pieces here that are double-sided. So that's always a good thing. Maximize your space. There seems to be a better color palette to it as well. One of the complaints about Silver Tower was that it was too colorful. It was a kind of a Zenshin, which is a magical kind of shape-shifting type of universe. But this one seems unique and it seems different. It is certainly nice and light and colorful, but I don't know if you could play it very well in low light areas. So this here, of course, is the hub. So I think that's the fortress itself. This game retains the same mechanic the Silver Tower and Shadows of Hammerhal did, where you roll destiny dice, and if you roll any doubles, they go away. You can't use them for that round, but if you roll any odds or non-matching dice, I should say, they go here and they're a pool for other players to use. Obviously you have your death markers. I presume this is the first player marker. This would be the initiative track. So obviously you'd have bad guy 1, bad guy 2, 3 or 4, or maybe that's where the characters go, I'm not sure. But basically you shuffle your initiative cards and you lay them out here on the initiative deck and you see who or what goes first. And we have what seem to be wounded cards and dead cards. And what's nice now is that they actually printed the Destiny board on two sides. Now maybe there's a rule mechanic for it, or maybe there isn't, but still it's nice to see. We've a whole host of other interesting tokens here, including the initiative ones, and the ships are also double-sided. So let's see. It says support on one side and facilities in the other. So obviously if you're doing different things for different ships, you flip it over so you have a handy reminder. Now we're going to move on to the expansion set. And what I'll do is I'm just going to put this here. It looks very untidy, but well, I'm lucky that you get so much in a simple thing. Now, like I said, this is an interesting one because these are extra bosses, and what I really like about these particular bosses is one is a commissar, which would be kind of a fanatic kind of officer that would kill people who are not loyal enough to the Emperor, which would be the human faction in the 40k universe. And he has a big, huge Ogren bodyguard, so in case he misses the first time, the Ogren bodyguard will get you. So I'm just going to open this carefully. There's several expansion packs for this, so I'll be hopefully getting more of them in the future, and if I do, when I do, I'll open them here. So sliding it out, we're greeted by the Traitor Pack, an extra cardboard. So there's a new ship here, Eye of Vect, which looks like a Dark Eldar ship actually. We have a new tile piece. We have a new sheet, and we have the bios themselves. Now they come in just one short little sprue. The Ogren is nice and big, and the Traitor Commissar. The details, of course, lads, are Games Workshop's usual, very high quality. I won't focus too much on them because, you know, it's still just grey plastic that you're looking at. We have here a little side pouch, which is handy because if you want to reset the game, you can just put it back in here. So we have, of course, the card command sheets, so behavior tables and whatnot for the Traitor Commissar and the Chaos Ogren. We have new exploration cards, which will have combat. Now I won't open those because it'll be a bit of a spoiler. And we have new encounter cards, I presume, that these go into the main game. So there is also another sealed envelope. Do not open until the ritual quest, chamber quest, has been completed. So that makes me a happy bunny that there is more cool little sealed envelopes, and there's nothing else in the box. So I'm going to put that sealed envelope back in there, quick, nice and safe. We have an extra baggie, which is always nice. We have the extra baggie for these bits, which I'm going to put back in, nice and safe. And we have what seems to be more kind of stronghold cards with Archaeotech, and I presume other clues and bits and pieces like that. So the last thing I'll open up would be the cardboard. So I presume we'll have in this the assembly instructions. We might have an extra bit of lore, anything interesting like that. So opening this up, it's interesting that there's a new ship already. So up, I'm actually popping things out without intending to. I just need to cut that open a wee bit better. So in here we have the introduction book, I presume, with the extra components, pieces like that, Traitor Command, the Greenish 82nd Regiment, the quest, the combat after the quest, so dangers unknown. So there's a nice another little bit of extra lore, and of course an advertisement for the main game. And we have here the Heart of Corruption, which is okay, a unique quest, so that must be the final thing. And Traitor Commissar and Chaos Ogren, yes, the assembly guide. And what I like about this is it's card plastic, which is nice. And of course you have the data stuff for the main game. So if I do field a Chaos Ogren and a Traitor Commissar in my 40k game, I can use these to play them. And we have one cardboard, which is one new little piece, 6 unique stuff, other pieces. So there's not an awful lot of cardboard added to it, but I suppose the guts of it is really in the game and the quest, and we have one new ship. So that, ladies and gentlemen, was the unboxing of Blackstone Fortress and its expansion, Traitor Command. Like I said, I'm hoping to get other bits and pieces of this game as time goes on, so I'll unbox more and more of them. And down the line, when I have played it a fair bit, I'll give a nice solid review. And what I might do is I might do a comparative review between this game, Silver Tower, and Shadows of Hammerhal, because I'm lucky enough and blessed enough to have all 3 games and have played all 3 games. So until next time, this is Sean from The Lucky Roll. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. And until next time, good luck and God bless.